Alright, so to continue the build, I have my helper, Mrs. Daisy, and today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to install the Brian Tooley Racing, and shout out to Brian Tooley Racing. What beautiful valve covers, and very easy to install. But I'm going to be installing the valve cover, and then I'm going to install the coil packs onto the right side. As you can see, I've already installed the left side, and I've converted the coil packs from the round heatsink coils to a square high output coil. I just like the way those look a little bit better. So the first thing that I want to do is, with the Brian Tooley Racing valve cover, is you need to install this baffle. And by the instructions it says install the baffle with the curved part towards the top of the valve cover. So this would be the top of the valve cover, and as you can see, it can really only, I mean, you can put it in either side, but that baffle also helps you when you fill with oil or whatnot. But the way that you can see the valve cover here is that the baffle is away from these. So again, very easily done. Actually, it's this way. And notice it will not fit there, so it can only go there. You're going to use these self-tapping screws. And you're going to go to 40 inch-pounds with these screws. So the first thing we're going to do is just get the screws in there. I have it backwards because this is the top. Alright, and with Brian Tooley's instructions, it says that you want to tighten these to 40. inch-pounds. And then I know we're going to need 87 for the coil packs. So 87. Now, this is the replacement gasket, and notice how it's got a notched side and a flat side. The notched side goes into the actual valve cover. Oh, look at this and make sure that I have, and you don't use any silicone sealant on these, which I really like. They're made where you just insert the gasket into the actual valve cover, and you make sure that it's seated properly. And while I'm seating this, we can talk about the valve cover mounting bolts. So make sure if you buy these from BTR that you can reuse your factory bolts, but if you want to buy new, you can either buy new factory bolts, but ICT makes an outstanding bolt that is aluminum again, and I really like how they look. So I got the ICT kit. It's about 30 bucks when I got it, and I got it off Amazon. ICT has a store on Amazon that is the same price as their website, so they sell their parts at the same rate on Amazon. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, now with the ICT billet, they come with new gaskets, because you're going to need these gaskets regardless, a retainer, and then what you do is you put the bolt in there like that until you hear it click, and then, I'm sorry, the small side goes into the gasket to seal it. And it somewhat, holds it in place for you. So let's do this one. And again, until the gasket fully seats. And you just want it in there enough to hold it. Whenever you torque down the bolts, it's gonna tighten everything up. All right, double check your valve cover gasket. It all looks good. And then you want to install the valve cover. This is the top of the valve cover, and it has a little lip here, which I like that Brian Tooley has on there, so that it just sets onto the head. Oh, one thing I want to make sure is that my surface is clear of anything that could mess with the gasket. And be careful with whatever medium you're using to clean with, that you don't get anything in the engine. Okay, so I put the baffle on the wrong side.
Bruh.
Now we can install it. Check my gasket again. Remember, pick the side up top. There we go. All right. Now, notice that the seals are in there. Now, we're going to tighten the valve cover bolts down to 32 inch-pounds. There's 32. Wait. Yep. And I'll use this. Get them down in there. With the valve covers, I like to work my way from the inside to the outside for as far as the torquing sequence. And the ICT bolts are really shiny. I like them. And again, I'm not putting any tension on them. I'm just getting them seated. And what I like about the Brian Tooley valve covers is that they give you options that you can add stuff later on. You can relocate where you want your oil fill at. The valve covers from Brian Tooley come with one port plug back here, and here is the oil filler stopper. I just put it on the driver's side of the engine for now. Once that I get the engine in the car and start moving around with things, then I'll move it to where I need it. Okay. Now, as I mentioned with the torque sequence, inside to the outside. So I'm going to do this one. Torque. Then this one. Then this one. And then back to this one. Now, I purchased 2 of these off of Amazon, and they're just to plug these holes until I figure out what I want to put in there. Trying to seal the engine up so nothing gets on the internals. It's a lot of work. As everyone knows, if you're following along my journey, now we put the coil mounts. And they go right into the top. Then I'm just gonna hand snug. You want to be careful and not over tighten because it is aluminum. And we mount the back one the same way. I like the way that these coil mounts work because it lets you still see the BTR on the valve cover, but it keeps the engine clean. And that's kind of what I'm going after, is a clean look. So next, when you're using the square type coil, you use the two short spacers. However, Brian Tooley in the kit sends different spacers if you want to use the round coils. These will be to 87 inch-pounds once that you get them set up the way that you want them. And it's 2 coils per pack. And remember that this is the spark plug in and this is your control in. Then you put a spacer. Then it goes through. Then you need another spacer. The other coil facing the same direction. And then your locking nut. And I like that Brian Tooley sends locking nuts so that once that you get it in place, you don't have to worry about it coming loose. You know, it's always good to inspect, check your vehicle. So I'm kind of showing 2 different techniques of how to install your coil packs. whatever's comfortable. Remember, we do this for fun, right? Okay, so remember, we have to tighten on 287. So right now we're at 32. No, 80, 87. Okay. So going to be a 10 and then a 5 hex. Now with those tightened, let's go ahead and put them at their torque. Alright, so there you have it. The Brian Tooley Racing valve covers with the coil relocation brackets. Really like it. Looks good. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install the headers, plugs, wires, and some accessories on the engine, and then we will move on to the intake. Thanks everybody for stopping by and checking out the video. Give a shout out to my family. Thanks for your support, especially my wife. She's allowed me to do this project and supported me. It's been a year already. So thank you, honey. I love you very much. And to my kids for listening to all the noise and putting up with me talking about it all the time. So shout out to my family. Shout out to Brian Tooley Racing. And I appreciate the parts. Brian Tooley, this is amazing products that you make. Far superior. I'm extremely happy to have it. And shout out to ICT. Your products are really awesome and the fit's perfect. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you later.